Hello, bookworms, bibliophiles, and lovers of all things literature. Welcome to the next chapter of the Braless Book Club podcast, where we discard our bras and get the crew back together to talk about books both published and unpublished. We are your hosts, Jenna.
Hi, guys.
Marissa.
Hello.
And I'm Megan. Before we get started, let's talk about what we're drinking. So I prepared this tea. So for all of our books that we chose, we kind of tried to match our teas to the theme of the book. Jenna, what was yours? I don't remember.
I did a flowery Earl Grey because I'm making June Farrow. The Farrow women had the flower fields,
right?
So we did a flowery Earl Grey with some lavender and rose in it and stuff.
Okay, I remember that one. And then for Marissa's, Jasmine, which was very fitting. And then for Angela's, we did the moonbeam tea. And so for this one, we are doing a chai, because this is sent in the Indian Ocean, not Mediterranean at all. The Indian Ocean, kind of I don't know, Middle East-ish. So I went with a chai, and I added in this one extra cardamom, extra cloves, and some coconut. So yeah, I tried to give it that tropical feel. I don't think the coconut comes through as much, but it's still very tasty. And this is even a chai. My Hanson, my husband, he doesn't care for chais at all, but when I made him a cup of this one, he actually really loved this one. So what do you guys think of the tea?
It's good. I like it.
I love this tea, actually. I'd drink it too. I can see why he who is not a fan of chai would enjoy it, because I feel like the coconut mellows it out a lot. So it doesn't have as strong of the spice to it.
Yeah.
But I can still taste the spice, so I still enjoy it.
Yeah. And we also added in a bit of honey and some almond coconut creamer.
Yeah, it's really delicious
as well. Okay, so today's book, I guess I should have talked about the book that we're doing to match the tea, is The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And this was my book for the year. Last year what we did was we did kind of we each chose 4 books and then we did a vote on it. So I'm really glad that you guys ended up choosing this one. I'm going to have to look at our votes that we did and see if I read any of the other books I chose, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm really glad that we chose this one. I really like this book, but to kind of get into what it's about, it's obviously about Amina al-Sirafi. She is the main character, and she is an ex-pirate who has retired from piracy and has taken on a quiet life with her daughter and her mother, right? Was it her mother?
Yeah, her mom.
In just a small town. They even live outside the town on the beach. And just on a random day, someone comes up to her house and is just like, hey, I want to hire you. And she's like, nah, I'm retired. And they're like, no, you're going to want to hear what I have to say, especially when I can give you, what was it, 1 million dinar or whatever it was, the money.
Yeah.
I can give you this much money. And so then she was like, okay. So she decides that she's going to listen. And it turns out that this woman's granddaughter was kidnapped by what do they call him? The Frank. Yes.
She does. I love that Shannon Chakraborty did put a little forward about, she's trying to be true to the times. And so they did call them the Franks back then and stuff. And even though it might not be politically correct now or stuff like that, she wanted to stay true to the time without being disrespectful. So I liked her little pre-author note about that.
Yeah. So. We had 3 intros to this book.
Yeah.
I liked them all. So we had the author's note, and then we had, I think it was the prayer that they said before they went to sea, and then there was the intro of Jamal and being like, hey, I'm going to tell your story. And then the actual story itself. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, at least. And then, okay, so basically she decides she's going to take up this woman's offer, and she is going to get her old crew back together and sail the ocean to rescue this girl. I think she was 16 years old, who was kidnapped. And then, of course, as you go on, you're wondering, was she actually kidnapped? Did she choose to go by herself? Was it an elopement thing, or what was it? At least those were my personal questions as I was reading this. And then there's a lot of unique characters, a lot of fun adventures and misadventures, and then there's even a bit of magic in it and some mythical creatures as well. If you look at the cover of at least the American version of the book, you can see that it's like a giant octopus or squid or kraken. So you can kind of get an idea of what this book is about. So, what did you guys think? Let's start with Jenna.
I loved this book. It did take me a while to get into. I know that you've heard me on the podcast multiple times say like, yeah, I've started it, but I'm only about 25 pages in. Only about 15.
I've only read the first 2 intros.
Yes. Yeah. But it was funny. Actually, we were just talking before we started here. The reason that there's been a big gap in our podcast coming out is because there were some medical issues for me, and I ended up in the hospital for about a week. And I read this book while I was in the hospital, and I loved it. It was literally what kept me going through the hospital. I mean, it's boring in a hospital, but it was a good book. Usually if you get stuck with a bad book in the hospital, you're like, crap, I don't even want to read. I don't want to do anything. And you're distracted. But it was such a good book. I loved it without getting into any spoilers.
And you, Marissa?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jenna. It took a while to get into. I wanted to like it so much, and I ended up loving it. But it was so hard at the beginning for I'm like, I want to like this, but I don't like it yet. And I want to like it, but I don't like it yet. And then you start getting into it. You're like, okay, I do like this book. This is a good book, and you really get into it. So yeah, if you can get past that beginning part, which is still a good beginning, it's slow in my opinion. It was definitely one of my favorite books I read this year.
I totally agree. It also took me, even though this is my book that I chose, and it's one of my favorite books of the year as well, it also took me a really long time to get into it. I think I said 100 pages, which for me, if I don't love it within the first 100 pages, then I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not worth it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But because we made a promise to do this book, I was just like, I just gotta push through.
That's what I did. Honestly, if we hadn't chose this book to all read together, if I had just picked this book up and started reading it, I probably wouldn't have finished this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. And the funny thing is that we were all kind of joking that, oh, Jenna's going to love it because, for one, it's an older pirate, and two, she's a mom. So, it has a lot to do with motherhood, and, she talks about motherhood and everything, and it's like, I can relate more to it in a way. And I was like, I know I'm going to love it. I know I'm going to get into it. But those first, about 75 to 100 pages, I was just in there like, it's set up. It's a setup book. It's a big, huge, crazy fantasy adventure, which is great, but you have to set it up. And the setup just took a little bit longer to get you into.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I did not prepare any questions. I'm so sorry, you guys. I had a whole entire week to do this.
Megan, you're the one that's always prepared. How dare you, for once, not be prepared?
Oh, how the turntables.
Thanks, Michael Scott.
I don't watch The Office, but I know that quote.
It's a good quote. We use the GIF a lot in our household.
I think something I really liked about this book, to go into it, is we were talking about the theme of being an older pirate. So it kind of deals with that you're past your prime type deal. So should you just give up and just settle down, or should you go chasing your dreams? And the hard part too is that and the reason why I thought Jenna would like this a lot is because I think when you become a mother, from an outside perspective, when you become a mother, your life is now just devoted to the child, and you no longer have your own life.
Right.
And so this book kind of talked about yes, I still love my child and I'm still devoted to this child, but I am still my own person.
Right.
And it's that struggle between being a mother and being yourself. Right. And are you a mother? Just because you're a mother doesn't mean you're not anything else.
Right.
There's actually a good point, and there's a part in it that really resonated with me on that topic, where she was talking about her love for piracy, and how had forgotten how much she loved it and stuff like that. And she didn't you don't really forget. She didn't say she forgot necessarily. It's almost just it's this distant thing that you don't your brain doesn't attach to and focus on and stuff. And she did such a good job of like, you know, you become a mother and you make these sacrifices for your child, and they don't feel like huge sacrifices because you want to do it. But then you remember who you were before, and it's like, oh yeah, this is who I was, you know? And it did a really good job of that. I think that the theme of this book, and also, man, the quotability of this book, the things that they said, there was so many parts that just like, that resonated so well. They talk about the poor versus the rich, and women, you know, not conforming to what men want us to be. And like, I loved just the introduction of Amina and how like, they're like, oh, the demon pirate queen, because she must be a demon if she's, you know, off doing these things, even though she's very, very, very religious and sticks to her religion to the point where, of course, she takes lovers. She just marries them and then divorces them.
That was a great like,
husbands.
little loophole that they did in there of like,
that was so
hey,
funny.
I can't be with you because I need to be married. I am religious. Okay, so let's get married. Okay.
and then later on in the book, this is a bit of a spoiler, but they're like, oh, in order to get rid of you, we have to do this important ritual called divorce.
Yeah.
Divorce. And he was like, divorce? Yes. What is it? How do we do this? It was really fun. I just wrote down all of the characters because it is such a huge cast of characters in this book. For obviously she has a whole crew that she goes, but I love how this almost felt like a heist book where you got to get the hacker, you got to get the poisoner, you got to get the person.
Yes.
And so,
and of course, my favorite, the demolitionist.
Yes. Delilah
Delilah was awesome.
I love how, as I was reading this, and since I know you, I was like, this is gonna be her favorite character. And then a couple pages later, you were like, this is my favorite character.
Definitely my favorite character.
Yep. Delilah was amazing. She was very strong, very outspoken. And I love that none of them, even though Amina is their captain, all of the characters didn't have any worry about like standing up to her and saying like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. But Amina was just like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. They were definitely more of like a friend group than a hierarchy. Yeah, hierarchy.
I agree with that.
And that was really cool. I liked the dynamics between the different characters. The like we said, you had like Delilah and Amina, who were kind of just, they were the two women on the crew. But it never felt like it was like, oh, they're the women, so we put them to the side.
If anything, everyone was scared of Delilah more than they were scared of Amina.
Oh, yeah.
Amina was even scared of Delilah.
Yeah.
She was like, when we're getting her, she's like, she's my friend. She won't kill me.
She won't kill me.
Right?
And even then when she meets her, she's just like, are you going to kill me?
She wouldn't like drink the tea first or I don't remember if it was tea, but she wouldn't drink her drink right away because she's like, is it poison? And they have, what's her first mate?
Is it Majed or Tinbu?
Tinbu.
Yeah.
Tinbu, the one that took over the ship when she retired.
Oh, right. And then he ended up losing it and getting arrested. And so
literally the first adventure was a heist.
Yeah. They had to go
prison break.
They had to go break him out. But I love that also Amina went to Delilah first and was like, okay, I need you. Mm-hmm. And Delilah's like, he lost your ship. We're not going to go rescue him, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she was just like, no, we need the ship. It's my ship. And Delilah was like, or we don't. Yeah. Who was Majed then? Was he?
Majed was the map guy, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
And that was also really funny.
Yes.
Because he was also a retired pirate that they had to go get. And my favorite was his dynamic with Delilah, too, because when they first met, that was when she do like poison him or something and threaten not to give him the antidote or something like that. It was something
like
weird.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way back when they first met. The backstory of them was she like basically threatened his life so that she could be on the ship.
Yeah. And that, like, I just love having this rich history of all these characters together and their interactions together and how it's slowly brought up either through conversations or in kind of flashbacks. But yeah, I loved all the characters. I thought they were all so well fleshed out and they each had their own, like, characteristics and their own like feelings and stuff. And so it was just like a really good, rich cast of characters.
And they all had their own religion and
that's
and
true,
ethnicity too.
And they didn't like there was no qualms.
Yeah,
it wasn't with each other. Yeah, except one time.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that one of my favorite parts of this book was just how well written and how diverse the cast was, because it did feel like you had very, very different characters.
Yeah, and it's cool when you have those, because there's some books that I read, like when I read The Jasmine Throne, I didn't have like specific actors or characters or anything like that in my mind when I was reading it. It was just kind of who I imagined. This one, I definitely imagined it as a movie, and I saw like specific people and referenced different people to be like, okay, this is how I view this person, and this is how I view this person. I think it's also because I was really kind of hoping I saw this as a movie, because although I liked the book, I think it would have done really well as a movie.
It has been optioned for a movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But now I'm not going to like it because I read the book first.
I know.
That's the problem. I would have loved the movie if I hadn't read the book first.
You know what? Enough time might pass. We can let it go. We just can't read the book right before the movie. You have to let time go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's usually how it...
I mean, obviously, when they option books for movies, who knows if they'll ever get made. Like, Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman was optioned back in 2017, I think it was, and by Brad Pitt's studio, and nothing's happened with it. Mm-hmm. So... Also, fun fact, a new scam is going around where they're calling authors and being like, hey, you've been optioned for a movie. So, watch out there, authors. Ugh. If it's not through your agent, it's not real.
Mm-hmm. Scams are awful.
I also compared this to the video game Uncharted.
Oh, right. I think you mentioned that a couple times.
Yeah, I think I did. Because there's so many times where, like, even though it's a pirate, they go, like, into the jungle and stuff like that. And the entire time I'm imagining it, and I'm like, it's like I'm playing Uncharted right now.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments that I was just like, what? Was when they went to the house to figure out, what was the girl's name that was kidnapped? Do you guys remember her name?
Oh boy, I remember a spoiler.
Yeah, we only think about the spoiler.
No, they talk about,
this needs to pull a Jasmine Throne and have a cast of characters on the back, but it doesn't.
Well, I don't think this had as big of a cast of characters as Jasmine Throne, so.
Jasmine Throne even, like, separated it into, like, not clans, countries, and, like, religion and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, which side they are on and stuff like that, yeah.
The girl that's been kidnapped, I will find it eventually. I love when they go to her room and they see all this, like, huge wall of occult stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, dang, she's a collector. And then there's this whole other wall of penises. And I was just like, she was a freak.
Yeah. I loved when they went into her room, because it was very much like, oh, she's a 16-year-old goth kid that...
Yeah. She really was. Dunya,
that's right.
Dunya, yes. So Dunya was the young woman who was kidnapped by the Frank. But...
Was she?
Yeah.
Well, and the other part of that was part of the blackmail and incentive for Amina al-Sirafi was that Dunya is the daughter of one of her old crewmates.
Right.
Yeah.
And something happened to him that Amina feels guilty about, and now she feels like she needs to save his daughter to atone.
Right.
Which we do find out what happens to him, but that is a spoiler as well.
Yeah, we'll get more into that with spoilers. I'm trying to find his name as well, but he was only mentioned when she was feeling very guilty, because obviously something happens, and I spent most of this book, anytime a new character was introduced, I was like, oh, is that the husband? Or is that the father? Yeah. Or what if her husband was the father of Dunya?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, there were so many questions.
I liked it because you talked about, there was one point where you talked about Dunya's father, and you're like, is that Marjana's father? And I'm like, does that make Marjana and Dunya half-sisters? And would have been really interesting.
Yeah. So, let's get into talking about, like, the story itself. Was there any points that you guys, obviously we talked about, like, the beginning, was there any points that you were just like, okay, this is a little too weird for me?
Yes, but it is also a spoiler point.
Dang it!
Without going into spoilers, there's a place that they visit, and it wasn't weird. It just felt like it came out of nowhere to me.
Okay, I think that's the place that I'm thinking of as well.
Yeah, and it just felt like
The birds.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that ties into her other story.
It does. I did look it up
Yes.
because I pulled out the City of Brass.
Yes.
And
So it ties into
yeah.
City of Brass, which is cool for me because I read City of Brass.
I think the hard part is that there was so much just realism to this story,
Mhm.
like with a touch of the magic part that I thought was cool and interesting. Where this place just was like, nope, let's flip the table and
Yeah, you go
completely
full into
change it.
fantasy. That's an actual fantasy realm, but in all fairness, the City of Brass is an all fantasy realm.
yeah. But that's the thing is
Yeah.
that it's easy when it's the entire book is that
Right.
way. Totally cool.
Mhm.
When it's like the entire book has kind of set you up in this one setting, and then they just completely change the setting on you. You're
Right.
like, that was a little off-putting to me. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do feel for most of the book, I think up until we get to like the cover where we meet the giant octopus that attacks them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a spoiler if it's on the cover, right? It did feel very realistic. Actually, I would say a little bit before then, because it wasn't until we meet her ex-husband, which I do think we should hop into spoilers now. So spoilers for, we'll start here from The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. Should we sing our little songies? All right. So if you have not read Amina al-Sirafi, we highly recommend that you do. If you do not mind spoilers, we are going to hop into those right now and you can keep listening. So for me, the biggest point where the magic kind of started was when we met her ex-husband, Raksh, who I absolutely loved.
He was
Hated
so
him.
funny.
I hated him.
You talked
my
about
gosh.
this in a previous episode
Yeah.
because he reminded you of the
Asterion.
Yeah, the vampire from
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3. I loved him because I am just a sucker for like those doofy, is that a word? Goofy? I was thinking doofus and goofy.
Yeah.
A doofy character who is kind of the comic relief and is just kind of like there just to be there kind of thing. So when he showed up, because we know, at least before he shows up, that she dumped her husband in a treasure chest or like a box or something.
All we know is that there's no way she's like, we can't run into him. He's gone. He's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She just keeps saying he's gone. He's never coming back. We left him. He can never get out or whatever. And
then he just
They
randomly
Jack
shows
Sparrowed
up.
him.
Yeah.
Yes. But that was 10 years ago.
yeah.
So basically, when her one crewmate died, a very tragic death, when he died is when she realized, okay, it's because of my husband, Raksh, that I'm going to just get rid of him. And so she did, but then he comes back and he's
She
just
keeps
like,
calling him a demon.
yeah.
She's Muslim, and so she just keeps calling him a demon. And I mean, there's like a lot of folklore and stuff in this, but she's like, you're a demon, you're a demon. So that's all we know is she calls him a demon and worries about that.
Mm-hmm. And he seems like, up until we meet him, he seemed like a really evil, strong
Oh yeah.
character. And I was just like, oh, is he going to be the big bad? And he's going to come back. And then he like, when she sees him again, she starts choking her. And I'm just like, oh my God, here he is. Oh my gosh, it's happening. And then he's just like, anyway, so what are you doing here? Long time no see.
He's the one that's like, divorce. Yes, let's do it. I guess. What is that? How do we do this divorce thing?
Yeah. He's very silly when they first were getting together and he wanted to sleep with her and get off the island because I guess he's like attached to places unless he's like welcomed.
He has to have like a contract.
Yeah, he
Oh,
has
the contract,
contracts.
right.
So
Okay.
he had to get a contract to her to break his contract of staying in that area
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
go. And then his next, in order to get away from her, he actually needed another contract, and it became a whole thing.
Okay, I don't remember that as much, but you guys read this a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah.
So she was just like, well, or he tried the ploy of, yes, let's sleep together. And that's when she was just like, well, we have to be married. And then he like,
Hence the contract.
he like kisses her and he's like, okay, are we married? And she's like, no, we have to like find a priest. And she's like, oh, okay, we found a priest. Are we married yet?
Oh, this is also very much a Vegas type deal that they were doing. Like, she was wasted, by the way.
Yeah.
They were both wasted, actually, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
They-
he was
yeah.
like, I'd never had this type of wine before. I didn't know what it was. You got me drunk, and then we got married, and now I'm stuck with you, and you left me in a crate.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is funny because I had that same thing. It was like, I was like, he's going to be working with the Frank, and actually he's going to be like in charge of it. He's going to be a big, like,
this is his revenge. Yeah.
And, and then we meet him, and he was working with the Frank for a minute, but he's like, look, that guy's freaking crazy. And I just escaped, and I need your ship, and get me out of here. But also, why do I still feel a connection to you? You left me in a box. And she's like, oh, I don't know, we need a divorce. But really, she's afraid that it's her daughter, so she doesn't want to give him the divorce.
Right, because he is...
Marjana
is his child.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she also...
I knew you're good. Talking easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something, too, that we kind of... She hints at early on, because she'll say things like, Marjana's human. Marjana's fine. She
has no powers.
She has no powers and stuff like that. So you do get that idea of that, like, something was going on with her ex-husband. Something happened, and you know that this is going to turn into like some sort of fantasy because obviously she does hint at that early on.
Oh, like first chapter first. I don't know if it was one of the introductions or chapters, but when she was on that little rowboat with those two guys, and that sea monster comes out, and she uses her dagger. It's like very obvious. There's magic in this.
Yes.
There's a sort of magical element to this story, but I thought it was going to be something small, like little bits like that. Maybe like a little bit of witchcraft or something like that going on. A cursed object or whatever, which is a whole nother thing in this book. So I definitely thought it was something small like that, and then it went off the handles.
So basically, once you meet Raksh and Falco, who's the Frank, once you meet them, I feel like it just turns straight up into fantasy.
Yeah.
Like hardcore fantasy. And I liked it, but I do agree with Marissa that it did feel very sudden. And I would have preferred either fantasy from the beginning where, I don't know, actually.
I think they did a good job. I think that it did feel sudden, but I think that they did a good job for me with it, where I felt like they spent enough time getting you interested in the characters and the setting, which was it's our world. It's not a fantasy world. So it's like, it's our world in the fairy tales that you read about, you know? So I thought that they did a good job of like getting you set to feel like you're in our world before they jumped into this, like, but also there's monsters and jinn and demons, and
I think it just opened up too much. I think it would have been better if it remained more of a mystery as far as like the fantasy stuff goes. Because it's like, yeah, it's one thing to be like, okay, there's special objects, which is like the ending of the book really, but there's special objects that have a mystical or fantasy type feel to them. Totally cool, totally fine. You've got some like spells and witchcraft. Cool, like little hints of it, totally fine. Maybe a creature or two, like the big kraken thing that they fight and everything, yeah, totally fine. But then when it was like just opening up the entire world on the other side, like lifting the veil, I think that's where it lost me a little bit, because it was like, okay, this is too much. It was getting my feet wet and then pushing me into the pool.
Yeah. You're like on this top step and then someone just pushes you in.
Exactly.
I do think so. I think it was very jarring for me to when they have the when the Falco decides to sick his creature on them, and basically her entire ship and crew are destroyed or captured, and then only her and Raksh are the ones who end up on that like mythical island. That was where I was just like, we went from fantasy to surreal.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand anything that was happening on the mythical island. And then we meet what were they? The Perry?
The Perry.
They're the ones, the bird people.
Which, by the way,
this is fitting.
It's so in our D&D campaign, we had the whole thing of like, we're trying to get to the Aarakocra, which are on top of a mountain, and like in our setting, the Aarakocra are kind of like mythical too. Like, not sure if it's real. My character met them before, and I'm like, the bird people, we gotta get to the bird people. And there's another character.
Haley's character.
Yeah, Haley's character, if you've listened to our LGBT episodes. Her character's all like, no, I don't think they're real. They're all a myth. And I'm just like...
Her character's very much scientific based.
Artificer.
She's an artificer, yeah.
But yeah, it was great reading this and being like, the bird people!
And it was just this past Saturday that we had our session where everyone was all together talking about the bird people. And to Haley's credit, her character did apologize.
She apologized because she wanted more information from me.
It's very much a good character. So this is very fitting. Yeah, that was a good session.
Anyways.
So going to, and you even had mentioned that there's a character from, I can't find it because this book is big.
Yeah, the one who saves her. I'm pretty sure he is a character.
He's in the first one.
Yeah,
of City of Brass. Yeah,
City of Brass. So you see him in City of Brass, and he has that compassion. And they talk about the Perry, how they don't get involved, and they don't, do stuff like. And he's just like, why? Like, we need to get involved sometimes. We need to help a little bit. Like, it's also I think so.
I liked him because I liked that he kind of was very much like, he was apathetic but compassionate.
Yes.
And I don't know how those two things work, but they did. Because he was very like, I don't care. I guess I'll save you.
He was like,
guess we should do this.
I want to go on an adventure. I don't really care about you. But this means I get to go on an adventure.
Exactly. It was so cool. And he like just saves her and like was like, oh, I just noticed you were falling, so swooped in.
Yeah.
I love how when he brought him back, Raksh was like, I was mourning you. And they're like, did you even cry? And he's like, no. But I still felt bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a lot of that. And I did find it interesting that she is connecting, because we've read a couple books where there's connection to other series.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tempest of Tea was connected to We Hunt the Flame. And then so this is connected to City of Brass, which I only did read the first one and it was just too confusing for me. But after reading this, I do want to go back and reread the series, like binge the whole series all in one go. But I like that that's kind of I guess it's not really a trend if it's happening. It's been happening since like Lord of the Rings or even The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That's kind of a all in one world series.
I like that authors do this though. It's kind of the Soulless does it where it's
Kayla Carragher and her entire world there. I just love finding people that are in other parts or other series of hers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were just talking the other night about Mike Flanagan's stuff.
Oh yeah.
All his stuff is connected.
Yeah.
And then obviously Stephen King, he has the whole series, or all of his books are connected through the Dark Tower series and,
guys,
other
we
things.
Can't not talk about Disney and how they have their hidden things and everyone has the
Pixar.
Tarzan.
Well, Pixar is a
right.
big one.
Yeah. But even like Tarzan, they're like, oh, well, Tarzan's parents are actually Elsa and Anna's parents. Yeah. And, it's like they have all these theories about how they're all connected too. So.
Oh, and then the ship was ship that they left in was for the ship in The Little Mermaid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I also started rewatching American Horror Story Coven again.
Oh, right.
Because favorite season of it and it's spooky time. But they do that in American Horror Story too. At one point they make the entire, like all of the different seasons connect.
That was the one in the bunker, right? Where they all officially connected through that season. I don't remember what that one was.
I don't remember what that season was called off the top of my head, but I just remember seeing the witches come back, and I was like, yes, that's my favorite season.
Same. That was mine too. Yeah, Coven, Murder House was, we're getting off topic, but Murder House was not my favorite, but then Coven, I was just like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. So yeah, I love when things are connected, and I think that would be really fun to do an entire series of talking about, or an entire episode talking about like connections and stuff.
Yeah.
Of just books that you've read in general.
Let's get out our murder boards and start connecting all the dots.
Sounds good to me.
I just see the gif of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of murder boards, I'm listening to The Late Mrs. Willoughby, which is the second to the Murder of Mr. Wickham book, and I'm feeling that.
You're like,
so it's perfect. Okay, so I just want to know, we know obviously who Marissa's favorite character, Delilah. Jenna, did you have a favorite character?
It would have either been Delilah or Amina.
Yeah.
But I think Amina only because I definitely relate to her as a mom. I think Delilah's fun because she's the
chaotic one.
The chaotic poison. And I always love those ones. The
snarky one
like
as well.
Snarky, chaotic, let's just kill him kind of person, I loved that about her. But so if we hadn't had Amina as a main character, Delilah would have been my favorite for sure. Amina, I loved how fleshed out she was and that she didn't fit into a stereotype. That she's this very religious, takes her religion very seriously, Muslim woman who's like, but I'm not going to be stuffed into a box that women are told they have to be in. I do lust after men and I want to take lovers and gosh, I miss having sex, but I have to be married. So, I'll just get married to these guys that I lust after. And, I'm doing it all because I'm doing what God said. Like,
I didn't talk. She's been married 3 times or 4 times?
I don't remember.
I just remember she talks about
4, 5, maybe?
I remember it was, I don't know if I wrote the note, but I remember thinking like 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo or whatever.
Yeah, she talks about her multiple marriages and stuff like that. And then like her whole thing, like I was looking for quotes for us for the end of this and stuff, and she talks about like, how she doesn't want her daughter to grow up thinking that just because she's a woman and just because she's of these circumstances, she can't do what she wants to do. And she can do whatever she feels it. So it's like, it takes that stereotype and turns it on its head of being a conservative religious woman, but also a strong and independent woman that wants to do her thing. And, and she's funny and she does have like a lot of quirks and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed Amina. So what about you, Megan?
Mine was Amina or Raksh. I already talked about in a previous episode how main characters are important to me. Mm-hmm. So I loved her as a main character. I thought she was fun. I thought she was fair to her shipmates and everyone. Obviously she did make dumb decisions, but what main character doesn't?
Yeah.
And exactly.
Plus.
But I honestly, in Jasmine Throne, did Priya make dumb decisions? I don't think so. I think she knew what she was doing most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah, but
I guess
she made calculated dumb decisions, I'd say.
She knew what she was doing. It was still dumb, but she knew what she was doing.
When she followed a rook into the forest to meet Ashok, she's just like, fine, I guess. Just go get me some food first. I'll go with you.
Okay, yeah. That's me, yeah.
She made a lot of dumb decisions. She just was like, okay, I can handle myself.
I thought she was perfect. Anyway,
she has time. Okay, guys, at the end of the second book, let's talk about that dumb decision.
Oh yeah, okay. 100%. That's why I specifically said Jasmine Throne. I didn't want to talk about book 2 because she made so many dumb decisions in book 2. Anyway, my other second favorite character was Raksh. I thought he was just so fun, funny, and now I want to play Baldur's Gate 3 and just see if I would like Astarion.
Interesting.
But even my husband and I were at Costco the other day and we're looking at PS5s, just so I could play Baldur's Gate 3. Because I don't do computer games.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But I don't know how it compares to computer versus. Anyway, that'll be a Christmas present.
There you go.
Hopefully. Anyway, so I just love those silly kind of comic relief characters. But I do feel like all of these characters had such good qualities that any of them could have been my favorite, obviously, except Falco, the bad guy. So what did you guys think of the writing style?
So I am so glad you asked that, Megan, because I really want to talk about this.
We're in like the Stepford Wives now?
This is a very genuine podcast. This is not scripted at all.
Not scripted at all.
We might have been able to get away with that if we hadn't all cracked up.
It was too good.
We now have to leave all of this.
Yes.
Okay.
So Jenna, writing style, you were saying.
So I love the writing style of this book. The funny thing is okay, so my mom, who our biggest fan. I was
gonna bring that up too.
My mom, our biggest fan, read this, or she listened to this book on audiobook. And I actually am surprised that it's taken me so long to bring up the fact that I did listen to this book on audiobook a lot through the hospital. because this is a big book and I was very weak. I needed like 2 blood transfusions and I was all sorts of messed up. So sometimes just holding the book in bed was a lot. So I had my headphones and I was reading along with the audio so I could see your guys' notes as I was doing it.
That sounds like a really fun way to just absorb the book.
It was great. It was like the audiobook of this book was amazing. So the writing style of this book is, at the very beginning, one of our many intros is Jamal, who is the scribe telling the story of Amina al-Sirafi. And the intro to that was beautiful. The way they talk about how her reputation precedes her. And like, they're like, but I promised that I would tell this in Amina's words. So, I think the best way to do that is just to give you Amina's words completely. And so it is told like Amina is sitting in an interview, like she's in a podcast with us, as if she was just sitting here telling the story. And there's funny parts because in the book, you see the parts of the book where she starts kind of going off script and she's talking to Jamal. Mm-hmm. And she'll be like, do you really want to know about this or whatever? And if you listen to the audiobook, it's like she turns away over here and it's really cool because it's perfectly done where it feels like I'm listening to someone tell a story to me in a podcast setting, but also they have the different voices for the different cast. So it doesn't feel like Amina's just telling me a story. It's really well done. So I highly recommend if you like this book, and even if you're having a hard time getting into it and you're open to audiobooks at all, this is a really good audiobook.
I like, because there's Mom didn't read the physical book at all. She just did audiobook. So she was telling me about the whole off mic talking where it gets further and further away and you can't hear it. And she's like, I thought that was a really cool thing that they added in for the audiobook. And I'm like, no, that's in the book, Mom. That's literally, they have those moments, those little asides in the book. And she's like, that's so cool. So I thought that was really interesting that, not knowing the book, she thought it was just a little added for the audio ones.
Yeah. It was fun reading and seeing it there too, but it's obviously because I started it as reading the book before I got the audiobook. I knew that it was in there because it's like the second chapter immediately. It jumps right, or like the first chapter, it jumps right into Amina talking. So she's like, you knew how it was set up. But yeah, they did a really cool job with that. Highly recommend listening to it.
Which then brings us into Jamal.
Right.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about earlier the writing style. And so the story is told from Amina to Jamal, the scribe. So Marissa, do you want to talk about Jamal?
Yeah. So just when you thought this book was an LGBT, actually that's not true. Timbu
has a husband.
Had a boyfriend at the market or whatever. But the cool thing is Jamal, I think the entire time at the beginning I was trying to guess who Jamal was. I was like, is Jamal one of the husbands?
Same.
Is Jamal this? Is Jamal that? Jamal is Dunya.
Is actually Dunya.
Yeah.
And I love that you slowly get the progression of Dunya being like, I prefer pants.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel comfortable in my own skin. And my favorite thing, especially because Amina is our favorite character, Amina immediately is just like, okay. Yeah.
That's cool.
Whatever. And then Dunya is just like, actually, I prefer, this, and I don't feel comfortable even with my own name. And then that is when Amina completely changes in the fact that she's like, I'm going to bring you back to your grandmother, because her grandmother was going to marry her off to the governor, who was this 50-year-old man. And I think he even had other wives or something. I don't remember. But
it was gross and nasty.
Yeah, Dunya was just like, I don't want that. And Amina was like, okay.
Yeah. I very much liked the fact that Amina accepted Jamal almost immediately. And I was wrong. I thought when I read it and once Jamal stated who he was, that his pronouns changed when Amina talked about him, but it wasn't immediate. It was just kind of one of those in-between things. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to a they-them thing, but then it was definitely a transition for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
which felt very natural to me.
Yeah.
You don't automatically just well, I think I'm a guy. And then everyone automatically immediately just starts calling you a guy. It's people have to kind of get used to it.
Learning it and all of that. And then, but similar to how you start this book, you didn't know anything about Jamal beforehand. So you just, when you don't know the before, they're just Jamal.
Yeah.
He's just Jamal, and that's just what it is. And so I thought that was really cool. I liked that you kind of start, it was a wild out there, like, prediction for me when they were, because they had that back and forth of like, are you sure you want me to tell this part? Are you sure? Like, this is pretty crazy. Like, this one's sensitive. You sure? And it's the part right before Amina meets Dunya.
Mm-hmm.
And so right there, I was all like, what if Dunya's Jamal? And then, like, I don't remember how, it was like 2 chapters later or something like that. It's all like, I like wearing pants. And I'm like, no way, I was right. I thought that was just a crazy theory.
Yeah. And I love how then Amina is just like, okay, you're on my crew now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you don't want to go back, it's your decision.
But it was interesting because she didn't do that right away.
Yeah.
When she first found out, even though she's like, you've just got to do this. I'm sorry. It's just part of it. I have to take you back. She's threatening my family. There's too much going on. I'm taking you back. It is what it is. And it didn't take till the very end when she was just like, okay, you know what? You earned your spot and I'm not going to do that to you.
That was the big thing though. She was, her daughter was being threatened. Marjana was being threatened.
Yeah.
And so she was all like, even though she didn't want to necessarily, she was like, you're your own person, but also I need this paycheck and I need to make sure my daughter's safe.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I kind of don't care how you feel for a second, but honestly, it changed so quickly of like, she felt guilty saying that.
And I almost feel like she almost wanted to adopt Jamal as like, not a ward, but like not even like a crew member, but almost like a son.
Yeah.
To just say, hey, you know, you didn't really have this upbringing that you should have had. Let me make it up to you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I really loved
so
that.
Connected to Jamal's father.
Oh, right. Yes.
And
yes.
Everything. And so there were so many things that were in play when the setup for this book happened, which I loved because at first, obviously, when the grandmother comes and wants her to look for Dunya, it's, let me tempt you with this huge amount of money, which is very common at first when someone's trying to get you to do something. They're going to give you some outrageous, here, like, I'll do this for you if you do it for me. So she tempted her with this money and she's like, okay, that'll change my life. I'd be able to do so much. And she talked, like, there's a quote in it where she was talking about, like, you know, like pious people try to pretend like money doesn't buy happiness or whatever. And she said something like, I just looked at this quote and it's so perfect. She was like, I can tell you from experience that not having any money buys nothing or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, she knows like the value of this money, not just like, oh, I'm a pirate, I need money. It's like, she needs to be able to protect her daughter and it can save her and all of that stuff. So she's tempted with this money. And then as things are kind of progressing and she's finding more and more that like the grandmother lied to her about things and there's more in play here. And, you know, this might not just be as straightforward of a, you know, kidnapping and coming back and saving this girl as it seems. And she's just like, all right, you know what? If you can't be honest with me, I'm not going to do this. Like, no amount of money is worth this. And that's when the grandmother's like, yes, you will. Cause if you don't, I'm sending out all these letters to everyone that wants you dead and telling them where your daughter is. And I've been having her watched and like, you'll never see your family again. And it's like, and Amina immediately is like, do you have a death wish? But like the grandmother was smart and crafty and was like, if you kill me, then you'll really never see her again because all these letters will go out and people will find you.
Also, now we understand why Dunya had so many penises in her room.
I thought that when you guys were talking about it, I was like, it was penis envy the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to say, Freud would have been proud.
Yeah.
But
the other thing was the money. Part of the reason why she wanted the money, other than just, you know, safety and security, but Marjana talked about wanting to go to school.
Right.
Oh,
and she couldn't send her to school.
Right.
So I remember that. It's very much she wanted to just provide for her daughter.
Right.
And then when she realized everything, she's like, okay, I can make it work providing for my daughter. I don't need your money. and then she got threatened. She's like, okay, now it's not providing for my daughter, it's making sure my daughter survives.
Yeah. Right. And that's what I liked is like, because the stakes got higher, that's why it wasn't so straightforward for Amina. Because if it had just been like, oh, you're getting, $1 million or whatever, it would have been, well, I can go without the $1 million, whatever. I'm not going to sell you out for money, which would have made her, Amina, a very dislikable character if she was still like, nope, sorry, I want to sell you out for $1 million.
Yeah.
So the fact that like the stakes were higher with her family being threatened made it so that she would still have that like, look, I understand where you're coming from, and I don't want to have to force you into marriage. I don't want to have to give you back to your grandmother, but this is where I'm at, and I have to do what's best for my family. I can't put your livelihood before mine, which makes it much more likable character and understandable of a reasoning for her to want to give Dunya back to her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because all of the crew who don't necessarily have family that are being threatened, like Delilah, is like, you're really gonna do that? Like, no, I don't think we shouldn't do that. Like,
let's talk about Falco.
Oh yeah.
So Falco as a bad guy, I thought was really interesting in that he just, like, obviously most bad guys just want like power, but he wanted, what did he want even?
He wanted the basin.
The moon of Sabah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That was the whole motivation.
The creepy moon.
That was so funny when they're just like, okay, here's, another thing that this part of the writing that they do is they supplement like stories about each character right before you meet them.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, hey, here's like a little background on this character in between chapters. So that way you kind of get to know them before we actually meet them. And then for the Moon of Sabah, it was just like, oh yeah, here's these folk tales. There's like 4 folk tales about this Moon of Sabah and what it does and what it is. And then in the end, they're just like, it's a bowl.
Interesting tidbit. It was a bath, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a
bath.
basin.
It was a... I got the impression it was basically like a toilet bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was like a bowl, like a little basin that, like back in the olden days when they couldn't wash themselves in an actual bath, they would like lean over the bowl. Yeah. Anyway, what were you going to say? Tidbit?
Interesting tidbit in the audiobook, Jamal reads those parts.
Oh, cool.
So
is Jamal a different voice?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they have I think a male and female. The female who's doing Amina, and then they have Jamal. And Jamal does the introduction of like, I'm the scribe, I'm just telling you this, and then jumps straight into Amina, and then you obviously don't hear from him through Amina's chapters. And then when they do those little, little aside, let me tell you about, the basin of, the moon of Saba, and you get it from Jamal's voice, which is cool.
I got the impression, especially at the very beginning of it, that they were like newspaper clippings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there are definitely points where it's just Jamal talking. Mm-hmm. Jamal will be like, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. It's too early.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine, is when they're just like hint at something, or like at the end of a chapter and they're like, but this will be the last time she ever saw him again. And I'm just like, can you just not? Because that's like telling me what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. And I just want to see it as it progresses. So that I wrote, I think 3 times in this book. I was just like, can you not? I don't like this. This is my pet peeve.
I love that stuff. I don't know why. I love when it's like, they start talking like, wait a minute. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't tell you these things yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's fine if they say like, I'm getting ahead of myself. But like when they specifically, the line is like something to tell you
what's
that,
gonna happen.
Yeah. But that doesn't actually like show you.
Yeah.
Show, don't tell kind of thing. Anyway, but yeah, it's just this little wash basin that gives you magical powers. And it's one of 5, I think it was, of these like, that the bird people were like, hey.
There's like hundreds of them. They were called,
were
they? They're, dang, I wish they were.
I know it's not that, but I always thought anachronisms.
Yeah.
Because it's basically what it is, something that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
They're magical items that aren't supposed to be in this world because they belong to the fantasy world.
Yeah. It's like once they're no longer human or of our world, like you get the things that come into our world that are not supposed to exist. And there's hundreds of them. And that's the deal that Amina makes with them, and that's why this becomes a series, which is what we haven't really talked about. This isn't a standalone book. It is a series, and Amina makes a deal with the bird people pretty much to like save her life, get off the island, and go after Falco. The bird people are like, we want you to go out and find and bring us back these objects, and I keep wanting to say apparitions. I don't know why that's the word that I want to say. That's not it.
Apparitions, anachronisms. What are you gonna call them, Megan?
Magical stuff.
Magical stuff. She has to
Transgressions. That's what it's called.
So she has to basically. They were all like, "You have to get them all for us," and she's like, "Hey, look, I'm retired.
Yeah,
I'll get like 2." And they're all like, "How about 5?" And it was like one of those negotiation things.
Yeah, so I think this is 1 of 5 is the Moon of Saba. She's getting it as 1 of 5.
The largest of the transgressions. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm reading the book. Did you say that already?
So yeah, she agrees to go on 4 more adventures.
I don't think there's gonna be 4 more books, so
it's
I think
only a trilogy.
I was gonna say I think they're gonna fast forward through a couple of them. Like,
yeah.
Next book's gonna start off and be like, "Hey, we just got the 3rd one or the 4th one or whatever,"
or combine them into 2, where it's like, "Oh, hey, it's a 2-for-1 deal."
Yeah.
But essentially, she agrees to get 5 of these transgressions.
And the best part is she makes the deal with the Perry with Raksh, so he has to join. I'm so excited.
Worst part is she makes the deal.
Kind of, because then she just sleeps with him and sends him off on a boat. Like,
that's
goodbye.
right. I remember that.
I love how she sleeps with. Yeah. Did you just say that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was like
Megan's
my favorite
still
thing.
I'm
reading
paying
the book.
attention. I'm paying attention.
She's like, "Oh, it's kind of horny, and I figured I'd just use him. He's still my husband. It's fine."
And Delilah was like, "Did you just?" And she was like, "Yeah." And Delilah's like, "I get it. I get it." Also, Raksh is like described as really hot.
Yeah.
So it's funny
Hot
because
but
they're
dumb.
supposed to just. The way that they're supposed to describe him is really hot, but the way that I pictured him when they described him, like, man, he looks ugly. And I mean, this is his human form, not his weird demon form,
Right.
too,
He's
but-
like this hairy with tusks.
Yeah.
Was he hairy? I thought he was like
I thought he had fur.
fish with. He was blue.
Oh no, you're right.
Yeah.
Wait, we didn't even describe what he is. He's what?
What is he?
Isn't. He doesn't
He
talk about
doesn't,
it. He says it like predates
they
like
didn't.
everything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because he's
There's
like,
no
I've
word.
had a lot of different things, so you calling me demon is fine. That's just your word for me now.
Ah,
Yeah.
So-
okay.
But that's part of the reason why she keeps him alive and keeps him around is because he can have information on if anything happens with Marjana. But she doesn't want to tell him about Marjana, so she's like, "So your people can have kids too? What's that like?"
You have a family?
Yeah.
And
He
he's
doesn't
just
do
like,
the math.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I guess. I just kind of, but I don't really care about them. And she's like, crap, I can't tell you about your daughter then because you don't care about your family.
Yeah.
But
I don't. So that was something that upset me too, but that's also because I didn't like Raksh. Was the fact that she's like, I have to keep him alive so I know more about my kid. And I'm all like, no, you just made these deals with this magical being. Just figure it out from other magical beings that you're going to probably meet along the way.
Right. Also, he is lucky.
Yeah, that's his thing. He feeds off ambition, right?
Yeah, he feeds off ambition and gives off luck.
Yeah.
So, like, this, they always had, whenever they were sailing, they were like, yep, this is really good. But that also leads into, Dunya's dad ended up using him, Raksh, and making deals with him as well. And what happened to him? I don't remember.
well, all of the crew made deals with him.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
there was that point where like Dunya's dad was like, oh, I want I don't even remember what he wanted, but he wanted something, and Raksh was like, I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that for you or whatever. He's like, I don't know, you need to like give me your soul or something, kind of like joking. And he was like, fine, take my soul.
That's right.
And so
Because
it
he
wasn't
said that. It was the contract.
fully Raksh's fault.
yeah.
It was the ambition of Dunya's dad. But Amina blamed herself because she brought this demon in who had the ability to do this and said he wasn't going to go after her crew and then made a deal with him. And Raksh was like, I didn't really think he was serious. And he, I was trying to like persuade him not to, but he's a dummy that said sure. And then he like burned to death. essentially. Like,
oh, because
like
he didn't have a soul?
Yeah, because it was like he like gave up his soul or whatever, and he like pretty much like burned to death in front of everyone, and like pretty much just like internally combusted or whatever, and that's what freaked out Amina, because suddenly she's like, it's my fault he can't go to heaven or hell or all of this stuff. And
I just remember her having those nightmares, or she was like in this weird limbo place where he was like haunting her and teasing her.
Yeah, and he was like, save me, Amina, and
yeah,
you know, all this stuff. But it's
that's
like,
all I remember.
Yeah, it was his own ambition that he wanted something from Raksh. And
so, and I don't remember if this had anything to do with it, but wasn't his family supposed to be like the protector of the Moon of Sabah?
Yeah,
they were supposed to be the ones to make sure nobody got to it or something.
Yeah, his family was like, they were protectors of like a lot of these things, I think.
Oh, is that why she has all Dunya Jamal had all of the stuff in their room?
Yeah,
they're collectors basically.
Yeah, so I remember that the Tale of the Moon of Sabah obviously like it had totally different stories as you told it, but they had something to do with like, and this family was sworn to protect its whereabouts and all of this stuff, so her family knew and had like records of it, and she found those records,
and that's why Falco came.
Oh, that's right.
It's all coming back to me.
Yeah, and there was something to do with all that, but like the grandmother, it seemed like it was going on for generations, and it kind of had like fallen to the wayside, almost like
fairy
tales.
They
like
lost
their, and then Dunya like was re-interested in it or whatever, and kind of went down that rabbit hole, and that's how she had found the Moon of Sabah or whatever, and tempted Falco to take her away. But then like at the end they have like a family djinn that like gives like more information to Amina to give to Jamal and stuff like that. So it's like they obviously had some sort of like connection to the supernatural realm.
This is why next year I gotta read my book last. Because I am not remembering half of this stuff.
Yeah.
I also think reading the book last, because I think we should do that too, but saving your book for last, because like I said when we were talking about it, I think the last book is always the hardest one to get through, because you're like, oh, this is the last one, I just have to finish it.
But you'll be excited because it's your book that you chose.
So I'm hoping it's that and not the opposite happens where it's like, it's my book and now I don't want to read it.
Right. But what if, like, my biggest fear now is what if everyone else reads it and they're just like, oh, Megan, it's not good. And I'm just like, no.
And then you're reading all their notes about how terrible it is and you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I've liked all of our books so far. Well, I didn't like either of my books, actually.
I liked your book for what it could have been for both of them.
Yeah.
What they could have been.
I think I would have had a hard time if I read either one of my books last.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, maybe
June Farrow, I
could have been okay.
Yeah.
But
I think also, like Megan said, of like, even if you like the book, you're going to be nitpicking it a little bit as you're reading it. And so when you're reading your book, you're like, oh, I'm just enjoying the book.
Yeah.
But if you're reading your book with everybody's notes and nitpicking it, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. But that's how, so like the whole annotation thing came from Hannah and I doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, what we tend to do is like we did the entire Well Met series and we've done some now Emily Henry books. And because it's like an easy rom-com, it's usually easy. We do a lot of Emma Mills. She did some kind of magic or
Foolish Hearts or
Foolish Hearts, yes.
Yeah.
So we did all of her books, Emma Mills books, and she did one fantasy. But those tend to be like very low stakes, very easy. So getting annotations from that is fine because it's not nitpicky.
Mm-hmm.
But like the one we just did, Jenna and I just did for Hannah to send to her. I was a lot more nitpicky on that one just because the story itself wasn't very good. But I think if we have a lot of fantasy books that we're going to be doing next year, it will be a lot harder. I mean, just similar to what we've been doing the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still interested.
Admittedly, though, I would say that mine was the low stakes one, and that was
yours had murder in it. That's high stakes and mystery.
But your guys' was more of the fantasy.
Oh yeah,
and
high
more
fantasy.
in-depth. And I'd say that overall, the three of us at least really enjoyed the high fantasy and stuff like that. And I think what you're able to kind of put suspend belief a little bit easier with the high fantasy. So, and and be a little more forgiving, I think, to things that don't necessarily add up.
Yeah.
I saw this thing, which is totally funny, totally kind of a random side note, which we can leave in or not. But it was talking about as a writer, and it was like, don't give numbers. Like, as a writer, don't give numbers. If it's been a while, just leave it out as a while. Don't say 7 years. They're like, because you don't do math as good as your most autistic reader. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so true. They're like, they will find the problems in your math. And
Oh, yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that's so true. So
going off of that, there was Brendan Lee Mulligan and Matthew Mercer, who are two very famous DMs, talk about like Harry Potter and how the like whole system in Harry Potter makes no sense.
Right.
Because basically Hogwarts runs everything and it's just a school.
Right.
And there's a whole thing, but they basically go off on all of it, and they're like, that is to say, if you're making a homebrew fantasy setting, or in our cases, writing a book, don't get too nitpicky about the small little details of how your system works, because even the most famous books out there make no sense.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's true.
So. Right. So I think that for annotations, high fantasy is still fine, because we can be nitpicky, but we're not that nitpicky. You're allowed to like suspend belief as much as you need to for a fantasy work.
Yeah. I do want to go a little bit into, because she's not here, Angela, her review for it. I did not read it, and I mean, I think I did, but it's been a while. I know she said she liked it, and then Megan Ead said she didn't like that it was a series.
Yeah. And I think that is something that we all kind of discussed outside of the podcast, where we kind of said we all, except for Jenna, chose books that were part of series. So because it's just kind of a commitment. Mm-hmm. And so that is something that for next year we were just like, let's just not choose series. But she ended up giving it in the book. She gave it 5 stars. So she really enjoyed it. Should I read her review?
Yeah, read it.
Sure. So she said, the idea of an aging female captain was fantastic. I won't lie, I'm frustrated this will be a series, especially one we have to now wait for, because unfortunately the second book hasn't even been announced.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the prospect of future adventures is exciting. The characters are awesome, and I loved how Amina fought because of her daughter and stayed true to that. This was such a fun read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I was just gonna say, I honestly, and it may change later on, I probably will not continue this series.
Interesting.
Because
until I read it and go, Marissa, you have to read the second book.
Well, because that one took so long to get into.
Yeah.
That having to wait for the next book, I'm not going to remember this one that well. Like, I will, but I also don't think I'm going to want to, get invested into it again.
It has been 7 months since I read this book, and I remember barely anything. But I also did binge, like, the last half of the book.
Yeah.
All in one sitting. So it just came in one ear, I enjoyed it, and went out the other, so.
If the writing style is similar, which I assume it will be, I assume it will be Jamal telling these stories, because they kind of leave on that premise. I will 1010% be listening to every one of these books. Which I would highly recommend for you guys if that's something that you're interested in, because it really wasn't that long of a listen to, and it's entertaining enough. So if you are interested in them later, listening to it would be a good idea.
I just don't think, and plus, like I said, I think this was a really good standalone book, that if it had ended as a standalone book, it would have been great. Like 100% 5 stars, best, not best, but like great book. The fact that I feel like it's going to drag on, I'm afraid it's going to be like, those things where it's like the sequel isn't as good as the original?
Yeah.
That's how I feel like it's going to go.
Mm.
So, as someone who loved and read all of her City of Brass books, each book got better. So, I loved her City of Brass. I cannot wait for the next ones for this. And I was actually thinking earlier on, when we were talking about it before, we talked about spoilers and everything. This book, what I liked about it and what I enjoyed about it is that you could read it as a standalone, and you can just leave it at that. You don't have to read the next ones. You can do what Marissa does and leave it at this. It finishes its story enough that you're not like, but I have to know what happens next.
It felt like
it's on a cliffhanger.
It felt like, when they have like the horror story or horror movies or something?
Yeah.
Where the story finishes, but then the very last clip is like, but is it really dead? Yeah, the hand comes up and you're just like, is it really dead? That's how I felt. So for me, this is an all-encompassing, its own story. But like you said, it does leave the door slightly cracked for, okay, yeah, there'll be more adventures.
I felt like it for me, it was like the end of a season of a show. It's like, yeah, you could have another season, but maybe we'll get canceled, so maybe we won't.
R.I.P. the Acolyte. Oh my God, my heart.
That's 100% what I was thinking, Jenna. Like, it felt like a show that thought we might get canceled, so let's just have the first season to set it up, and then leave a little crumb just in case we don't get canceled.
Yeah.
Firefly.
Yeah. But
the Acolyte.
Yeah, all of those ones. But for me, it was, I also was thinking about how we were talking about how hard it was to get into this book. I think that there will be a lot of points where there will be little moments of her and Raksh having those romantic interludes, and I think it will probably be a second chance thing, and maybe, there will be a point where they end up like as a family or something. But that being said, in City of Brass, it wasn't so straightforward. It wasn't the guy that you meet in the beginning necessarily that like is the love interest.
Good, because I thought he was so boring.
Oh, yeah.
I only read the first one, so yeah.
And so that alone made
You're smiling.
I'm looking at all the different notes, and I don't remember what prompted this, but I put spin-off series of Majed raising Marjana.
That'd be so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that there will probably be a little bit of the Raksh love story in there, but it doesn't feel like a love story book necessarily.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it'd be a large part of it. But it's definitely not a romance, but it would definitely still be there. And once again, I did not like Raksh. I did not picture Raksh as anybody handsome. I was trying to find the point where they're
spin-off series, Delilah and Amina end up
See,
married.
I put why do I feel like Raksh is still a love interest? I put that in there at one point.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where they I think they just play up his character. They made his character more of a likable one than I wanted them to, because like we said, we thought he was going to be the big bad guy, which makes me think he's going to be prevalent in that sense. And it's going to be one of those things where he finds out about Marjana and decides to step up and be a dad, and she likes that and whatever.
She has superpowers, and he has to teach her how to use those powers.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking.
And he's funny, and Marjana actually enjoys him, and it pisses Amina off, but at the same time, she finds it kind of endearing.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah, before we sign off, would you guys want to give theories for what the next book will bring? And then we can come back to this like we did with Ruthless Vows and Divine Rivals.
I think my big thing is that because this book went way off what I thought it was going to be like,
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I can't really predict it, because what I would want to happen would definitely be a milder version of what did happen in this book. Like, I liked the pirating, I liked the Kraken, I liked the characters and everything and their relationships building on that. So I would want more of that. I would want less of the fantasy world coming into play. Obviously it would be, because she's going off to find all these things, and I think it'd be cool for her to find these things and how they fit into history and stuff. Like real world history. But I wouldn't want the history of those things as much, which is sad, because I think it would be, I like stories and mythology, but I think the history of those objects would take away from the adventure.
I don't want, which is hard to say. I know that when she goes after these, what did we call them?
Transgressions.
Jinx.
When she goes after them, which we didn't even talk about the fact that she is now a transgression.
Yeah.
But when they do that, it's going to be multiple Falcos. It's going to be multiple bad guys that we're going after that are all going to be kind of having.
I also don't think it's going to be a copy and cut, though. Like, yeah. I don't think it's going to be like next book is going to be her going after these transgressions, and then the third book is going to be the final ones or anything like that. I think there's something's going to happen in the second book, which is going to give a separate mission than just find these transgressions.
Which is what I hope. I hope that there's a bigger bad guy that comes along that
Maybe a Deva?
that isn't necessarily
Jinn?
that isn't necessarily gonna be the oh, well, we have another Falco in book 2 and then Falco number 3 in book 3, and we have to defeat each separate one, and it won't feel as much like the second book can be a standalone, I think that it won't be. I feel like the second book will tie in more to the first book and would be one of those books that's like, okay, well, now I have to read book 3.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happened with City of Brass. If I remember correctly, it has been.
It's going to have the second book syndrome of being a transition book.
See, okay, but I tend to love the second books a lot more. So, and I can like give you an entire list. Like I could give you a whole episode full of just why I love second books. But it has to be a very particular type of second book, like you said. It can't just bridge the gap. It has to be like its own separate entity. My only hope is that either in book 2 or book 3, we at least have a time jump. So Marjana is like 15, and she's old enough that she can go on the adventure with her mom.
Yeah,
and her mom can like. I don't remember, but heck yes, I still believe it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like, especially if it's a third book, it would be really cool to have her like, especially if she stows away, and her mom doesn't know necessarily. That would be amazing.
Dang. And then
which would be how she meets Rock.
She meets Raksh on her own, not like through her mom, and her mom's like, no, I had this carefully curated way of like
keeping you separate
and eventually introducing you, but this is not it.
For sure. That's how it's gonna happen.
Yeah. She makes a deal with him to teach her magic. Somehow. Okay, so before we get off, or
before we suck
sorry, off. I did wake up early to write, and I was writing a very, very...
We have to watch that.
What?
Sorry.
What?
Have you ever watched Ghosts?
You need to if you haven't.
You need to watch Ghosts, but when they...
It depends on where it is.
It's on Prime.
Oh, okay, I have Prime.
When the ghosts move on, they go to heaven, they call it getting sucked off.
But none of them understand the reference because they're all
super old.
Yeah. Oh, dang.
So, like, one of the guys who's, like, newer is like, don't ruin this for me. This is the best thing ever. Like, so when we get sucked off.
Anyways, we'll cut that.
Oof. So before we log off, I'd like to know what were your guys' ratings?
5. I'd give this a 5-star. I love this book.
I think I gave it a 4-star.
You gave it 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5. I think it slow beginning definitely brought it down. And,
interesting. Also, what you give Jasmine Throne was 4.5.
That's true.
Slow beginning. Before it picks up.
Yeah.
And is real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it 5 stars, but I do agree that the slowness of the beginning did give me pause, and I was wondering, oh shoot, is this going to be another City of Brass? But I did enjoy this a lot, more, and I absolutely loved the
now I want
majority
to
of the book.
listen to City of Brass, and I wonder if listening to it would be better, because
I started it listening to it, and that's how I was going to read it, but then I got so confused because they just throw all these names out there, and so I was like, okay, this is going to have to be a reading book. But since you already know the story, and you know the political stuff, all right, and then our last question is, what are you guys currently reading or listening to?
So the funny thing is, as we're talking about like slow beginnings and everything like that, I was having a really hard time getting into any books right now, and I was like, oh nope, I hit the reading slump. I've done it. And then there was a book that's been sitting on my TBR that I keep actually pushing out through Libby, but I had been on it forever, and it was called The Witch Collector.
Ooh.
And it's by Carissa Weeks. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
How do you spell it?
CHA. It's like your name, but with CH.
Sorry, I wanted to make fun of you because you said I think I'm spelling that right.
I think I'm spelling it right. I think I'm saying it right. It's like your name, Marissa, but with a CH instead of an M.
There you go.
But it's I was like, okay, it's a witch book, so I wanted to read it in October, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And it was also one of those ones where it's the beginning. It took me a long time to get through the first chapter, even because I was hitting that reading slump. And I don't know that it's actually a slow beginning or if I just was in that reading slump. But as soon as I got through probably the first 3 chapters, it was like I couldn't put it down, and I'm finding like every excuse to read as I can. So it's a really good book. I'm enjoying it a lot, and it was one of those TikTok recommended ones, but actually pretty good.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't trust TikTok anymore.
I don't either, but this one surprisingly has, so far, I'm only about halfway through, a little over halfway through, has had decent plot. I did think of Megan at one point because so the whole idea is it's this girl that her sister is taken, this witch collector comes every year and takes a girl from the village to serve the Frost King, and help them, and they take him away from the village, and her sister was taken I think 8 years ago. And ever since her sister's been taken, they hated the witch collector for what he was and what they did. But this girl's been training and then secret and decided that she's gonna kill him. But she doesn't speak, so she speaks through sign.
Oh, cool.
She can hear. She's not deaf, but she doesn't speak, which is a cool character quirk for this book. But she decides she's going to kidnap the witch collector, force him to take her to the Frost King, and kill the Frost King with this god knife that her dad had.
Is the witch collector hot?
Yep, of course.
Of course.
But everything goes wrong really early on, and also the witch collector is coming to collect her, which he has promised her sister the whole time that he would never collect her.
Interesting.
But then her sister tells him, "We need my sister, you need to get her." So he's coming to collect her. She's planning to kidnap him to force him to go take her. And in the midst of all of that, this other nation attacks them right as he's coming to collect her. And so her whole village is destroyed, and they're actually just racing back to save the king. So all this stuff just goes really wrong in the very beginning. And they're working together, and they obviously fall in love, and he's hot and everything, but she's never seen his face before because he always wears a hood. But immediately, he's always been interested in her. He's always I weirdly couldn't stop looking at her. She's very beautiful, kind of thing like that. But it does that thing of I don't want to be attracted to him. Why is my blood racing? I don't want to be attracted to him.
I hate it.
Dang it. I thought of Megan and how she hates all of that stuff.
Unlike Priya, who is just nah, I'm into her. Yes.
But I guess I could
Priya.
understand when you spent 8 years hating him and planning to kidnap and kill this guy, and all of a sudden you see him and you're like, dang it, he's hot.
You know what? I can deny
hotness.
I can deny.
But then he's
easily.
actually genuinely a really nice guy too. Which is what you don't really understand and know. And he has a good relationship with his sister, and there's all this stuff that's other backstory that you wouldn't know from the outside perspective until you know what's happening.
He kidnaps girls.
No, they don't kidnap them. It's almost
oh, never mind then.
Almost like a draft kind of thing, where they draft them to come and serve to help these witch walkers to protect the kingdom, kind of thing. So they have to come and get powerful witches to help keep the kingdom safe.
Okay. So. Marissa, what are you reading?
Oh, reading slump. So nothing right now. But just adding books to my TBR right now. Honestly, I was just talking to my friend Steven, and he went to a author signing that for Neil Stephenson, and I was like, I haven't heard of him, and so we were talking about that author for a bit. So I might add him to my TBR. The book that was recommended to me by my friend is also a brick of a book, so we'll see if I go into it or if it's going to just be on my TBR for a while.
We had a lot of brick of books this year.
Mm-hmm. As you just finished
A Day of Fall Night.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm reading, I just got my Fairy Loot edition of Mirror of Beasts, which is the second book and I think it's the final, I think it's just a duology of The Silver and the Bone, which I read last year and absolutely adored. I thought it was so good, and that's by Alexander Bracken. And my only qualm is that Fairy Loot will have you order the book when the book comes out, so I don't want to go out and buy the book when I want to read it right away. I have to wait for my Fairy Loot to come. I could do Libby, but then because the book just came out in August, it was going to be a long wait. So I was just whatever. So I just started that one. The only problem is that is another one that I don't remember anything from, and a lot happened in it. So I'm slowly trying to get back into it. And then I just started, I just got that yesterday, so I started it last night. And then I am 75% of the way through the audiobook of The Late Mrs. Willoughby by Claudia Gray. And that one, I feel like if I am correct in my assumption of who the murderer is, it is too easy to pick up on. So I'm really hoping that she comes out, yes, and it's just like, actually, it was this person, and then I'll be like, what? I'm really hoping that.
I feel like the hard part about series like that is that once you realize the author's writing style and how they put in the murderer, you start catching on really quick.
Yes. I'll be kind of talking to you guys more about this off mic because I know that this is since we don't want to spoil it here.
Yeah.
But I'll just let you guys know. So those are my books that I'm reading. Any last thoughts about The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi? Oh, there was one comment where I think it was Marissa who said, what, is the next book going to be called The Misadventures of Amina al-Sirafi?
Yeah, I think I wrote that at the very top where it says The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi, and I just wrote Miss.
Yes. Any last thoughts?
All I have to say is that we were looking for quotes, and I knew we were kind of getting caught up, and Megan was looking at all this stuff, so I thought, okay, I'll look for a quote for her.
I appreciate you.
And every single one of them, I wanted to be like, let's do this one. Let's do this one. Let's do this one. Because she is so quotable and there's so many good things. And I was like, okay, Jenna, some of these are just perfect, like, political statements of getting people riled up. Like, yeah, let's raise up against the patriarchy and against the rich. And I was like, okay, wait, hold on. Calm down, Jenna. Maybe let's just stick to stories.
Yeah, I think the one that you chose is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I will be reading that quote. All right, and here is the quote from The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I wanted to have adventures, to be a hero, to have my tales told in courtyards and street fairs, where perhaps kids who'd grown up like me, with more imagination than means, might be inspired to dream, where women who were told there was only one sort of respectful life for them, could listen to tales of another who'd broken away, and thrived when she'd done so. Yeah, that's a great quote. Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah, I loved that one. I thought that was perfect for us.
And thank you guys and to Angela for joining me this year on this book. I'm very excited for our roundup year to see if this might be my favorite book of the year. Because in my planner, I have a ranking system where each month you like put in your favorite book and then like basically battle the books kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so far of the first 6 months, this was my top choice. So we'll see how it goes.
Also, the one thing I do have to say is Miss Chakraborty, can we please get any information on the second one? Anything. Because
she did say she's finishing up the second book.
Yeah. Look, I need a title and a release date.
Yes. The Misadventures of Amina al-Sirafi. I already gave it to you.
That's true. And
Marissa's in on the know. Yeah. She knows. All right. So yeah, once again, thank you guys for joining me. And I hope anyone else who read this also enjoyed it. And we will see you next time.
Wait, guys, please review,
Jenna.
Subscribe, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, all my things that I tell you at the end of every episode. Send us information. Please tell us what you thought of this book, because we're just talking to ourselves over here, but we really, really, really want to interact with you guys. So anything you can send us, I promise, I'm getting better every day. This healing process has been really slow, but I have plans to really get active again on social media once I'm fully healed and I have a lot more energy. So I will be active. If you will be active, come join me on social media and talk to us so that we can actually interact with you guys.
All right. And for next week, we are going to be discussing The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri. So this is the second book in the, what was it, Marissa?
Burning Kingdoms trilogy.
The Burning Kingdoms trilogy. So we highly recommend that you guys go read that or listen to it before next week. It's a very fun book. So looking forward to discussing it. All right. With that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.